Arkansas basketball suffered a big loss against Georgia on the road Saturday, and I was surprised how Arkansas got down early in the game, but I loved how they battled back until the last 5 minutes of the game. Guys, make sure you like and subscribe for more Razorback content, whether that's football finishing up the transfer portal or basketball, and as we head into baseball. Tyler, how do you think the Razorbacks played against Georgia today?
Overall, I thought there was a lack of effort in most of the game. Obviously, the beginning of the second half until, like you said, about 5 minutes in the second half, it was kind of the lone point of the game where you look at and you're like, hey, they actually played pretty well.
Yeah.
But there's so many things you can look at. We didn't shoot the ball well from the 3-point line, which hasn't been typical. That's been one of the kind of the backbones of this team. One of the things we did really well was rebound. Obviously, we out rebounded them, and then the points off of turnovers, man, just the careless turnovers, lots of unforced turnovers, and something you and I discussed earlier. Just they call it bunnies, layups, easy. You got to hit those. And there were lots of times where we'd have some really good looks at the basket and just couldn't convert. And then that letting them block us from behind on
No
breakaways,
question.
dude. You can't let that happen, man. You got to get those baskets. So I mean, I feel like there's just so many things that you can look back on this game and be disappointed at. But effort overall, I think, was the biggest.
And we know, and Razorback fans know that in basketball you're going to lose SEC games, especially on the road. That's one of the most difficult places to play, right? And I think that the effort was a big part of it. But the Razorbacks coming back, I know we're a better team than Georgia. There's no doubt in my mind that Arkansas is better than them. Georgia shot the ball better today and played better defensively. And Razorbacks, like you said, made some careless turnovers. Rebounding was okay. It's when we got four guys and Santos Surreal goes in and gets an offensive rebound over our four guys and puts it back up for two, or they get two offensive rebounds back to back and hit a three, ending our run. That really affects the team. That really affects the offense for the Razorbacks, and I think that was the biggest thing. We didn't play terrible offensively. I mean, obviously, we got in a slump to start the game. It was just so hard to claw out of. We finally did, but then they were late in the game. We just took some bad shots. We forced it and try to win it with one shot. And it's still a young team, and so just learning through those situations.
Absolutely, and it's a young team still, and that's something that we have to remember. In years past, in the situation that the Razorbacks are in, we would be looking at 1-4, 1-5
Mhm.
start to the SEC, and so I think that there are things that they're going to have to clean up. But we're still off to a better start in the SEC than years past, and there's only room to grow. The In the games that we've been successful in this year, Brazil or Malik Thomas,
Yep.
or you've had a couple other guys come up big offensively. And today it seemed like that the only person who was really helpful on offense for the most part was Billy Richmond, and a lot of his were scrappy offensive rebounds. And he had that one jump shot early in the game where he kind of drove to the middle of the paint and threw up the little 15-footer. But for the most part, all of his baskets were second chance points and things like that. And we're not getting many of those baskets of guys who are just straight up beating their defender, or there's a play called for them, they were converting. That wasn't happening today like it normally was. But I think in games where Trevin Brazil makes less than or attempts less than 4 threes, I don't think the Razorbacks have won this year. That's a big part of the offense, is letting him stretch the floor a little bit and
Yep.
bringing a big out from underneath the basket. So that's one of those things that did not happen today.
And you also look at it, Darius Acuff had a lot of points when we went on that run. But like you said, Billy Richmond was the biggest part of that run, getting the massive block on the other end that led to a dunk for the Razorbacks. Him getting hurt, I think if he wouldn't have got hurt, the Razorbacks continue that run. And it might have been a different outcome in today's game if Billy Richmond stayed there. Now, Malik Thomas didn't shoot the ball three ball well. Acuff didn't shoot it that well. Overall, the Razorbacks didn't shoot it well at all. So getting back to that shooting the ball well for the Razorbacks, I don't think they'll have a problem. But got to fix the effort. Home games, got a big home stretch coming up. That'll be a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, man. And my question is, like, this is 2 road games in a row. Now, granted, both of the teams on the road both of the teams that we played, they've had a home game after a loss in a game that they probably should have won. Auburn and obviously Georgia had that crazy buzzer beater to beat them against Ole Miss earlier in the week. But, man, you got to find ways to win games in the SEC, and that's 2 road losses in a row where the Hogs just haven't, played to their potential. And effort-wise, you can't start off that slow, especially in a game where the team is the number 3 scoring offense in college basketball right now, a team that's going to put up points, a team that likes to run, and they have a high pace. And it really seemed like when the Razorbacks caught their groove was when we embraced that in ourselves.
No question.
It felt like early in the game they really wanted to get into half-court sets and slow the game down a little bit, but that's not who the Razorbacks are.
I think, like you said, when the Razorbacks played like the fastest 40 minutes that people have talked about in the past, Razorbacks are at their best. And I think when we press teams or we gave pressure inside half court today that turned it over, that led to a lot of transition points for the Razorbacks, I think that's when the Razorbacks are at their best. Not when they set up and play a slow 25-second on each side of the court game. When the Razorbacks, what was the stat today, have 73 or more possessions in a game, they win, right? And so that's what helps the Razorbacks. And I thought ball movement wasn't there. It stuck a little bit. But you got to give credit to Georgia. Offensively, they played extremely well. Surreal played great defensively with those 7 blocks. But the Razorbacks easily should have won this game. There's no doubt. And, like I said, there's a lot of big games coming up for the Razorbacks that they have to get focused on. But any game in the SEC is a big one and cannot look past it.
Absolutely not, man. And you hate to hammer home about losses like this, but it would be different if it wasn't the second one like this in a week, obviously. No, but, man, there's a lot that they have to improve on. But I agree with what you were saying. Nolan Richardson had talked to Calipari recently and said, man, with the athletes that you have, you've got to push the pace. You got to press some. And like you said, I think in that half court when we were trapping, when they were getting in the corners and really forcing them to be uncomfortable whenever they were trying to run their offense as far as, the screens and things like that. Well, if you trapped in the corner at half court, you can't run that screen anymore, obviously.
No question.
And that's something they did to the Razorbacks as well. They were pressuring early in the half court. They were forcing us to start our offense at the half court line. And when you're doing that, trying to run your offense, you're trying to set a screen so high. And dude, they just didn't really let the Razorbacks run their offense the way that they wanted to run it for most of the game. And when you're a team that really pushes the pace, I think it would be a little more beneficial for Arkansas to start pressing some more, a higher percentage of possessions and using that trap a little bit more, because even if you give up a few easy baskets, it lets you get out running back the other way. And that's what you got to do. Your offense has to transition into your defense has to transition back to your offense a little more smoothly.
And I'm not worried about this loss other than the effort part. But like you're saying, if you put pressure in a press or right past half court, it doesn't get into the flow of offense till 21, 22 seconds left on the shot clock compared to no pressure. And you get there with 27 seconds. Those 5 or 6 seconds is crucial in the offense. And so I think just getting them out of the rhythm and playing that cat and mouse game of basketball and strategy could be something to look forward to that I think the Razorbacks would excel in. But like I said, I'm not too worried about this Razorback loss, and I think they will easily turn it around I believe Vanderbilt is on Tuesday, correct?
Yes. Yep. Tuesday at home at
And
8
then
p.m. against a really good Vanderbilt team.
and Vandy's coming off those 2 losses, only 2 losses on the season. And then we have LSU at home again next Saturday night. So it'll be a great next couple of games for the Razorbacks. It'll be great. Stay tuned. I'm guessing we will make a post-game video on both of those games. So make sure you like and subscribe on those guys.